Hi, students. Module 2 is an introduction to plants. And our goal here is to have a greater understanding of what plants are, what defines them, how do we distinguish them from other organisms. We also want to understand why plants are so fundamental to life on Earth and why are they so important to human societies. So what is a plant? Science uses 5 characteristics to distinguish plants from other types of organisms. And in this table, you can see here, in this column right here, we have each of the 5 characteristics with each of these categories that define what a plant is. And I've put them right up here. Plants have eukaryotic cells, cell walls with cellulose. They're photosynthetic, so their metabolism is autotrophic. The reproduction can be sexual or asexual, and their growth is indeterminate. And let me just show you a little bit how that distinguishes them from other organisms. So eukaryotic cells are more complex cells. They're bigger cells. They have a nucleus with chromosomes and organelle that carry out a variety of functions. And eukaryotic cells are in contrast to prokaryotic cells that bacteria have. They're much smaller and more simple. Now, plants are also multicellular, which means their bodies are made out of many, sometimes billions and billions of cells, like a redwood tree. Plants have cell walls made out of cellulose, and this distinguishes them from several of the other types of organisms. Bacteria and fungi actually have cell walls, but their cell walls are made out of chitin, not cellulose. And then animals don't have cell walls. Plants are photosynthetic. They're autotrophs, which means they can take the energy from sunlight and water and nutrients and produce energy-rich sugars to build their cells, tissues, and organs, and as an energy source. In contrast, fungi and animals are heterotrophic. And plants reproduce sexually and asexually. We'll talk more about that in class. And their growth patterns are indeterminate, which means plants in theory can grow indefinitely if they have enough resource. In contrast to animals, our growth patterns are genetically predetermined. So it doesn't matter how much I eat, I can't grow taller or longer arms if I get more resources. And that has a really important implications for why plants do things the way they do that we will discuss next time. So photosynthesis by plants is central to life on Earth and the functioning of human society. So if we go and look at a tree and take a leaf down and then take that leaf and look under a microscope right here, what you'll see are these mesophyll cells that are packed with chloroplasts, okay, which is where photosynthesis happens. If we blow up one of those chloroplasts and look at it, what we can see is that chlorophyll inside the chloroplast is absorbing energy of sunlight, capturing that energy and storing it in organic chemicals called sugars, glucose specifically. So photosynthesis takes inorganic compounds, water and carbon dioxide that are energy poor, and it transfers the energy from light into an organic molecule that's energy rich and is a building block for life. As this process happens, water is split and oxygen is produced. Okay, so through photosynthesis, plants produce most of the world's oxygen, and 99% of organisms on Earth require oxygen to live. Again, these energy-rich organic sugars that are produced in photosynthesis are the foundation of the biological food web and the energy that all organisms need to survive. So as photosynthesis happens and sugars are produced, that sugar and the energy inside of it enters the food web to provide energy to all organisms on Earth. And then these sugars are also used as building blocks for producing cells, tissues, and organs for all organisms. So the products of photosynthesis are both the building blocks of life and the energy source of life. And then fossil plants, these are plants that lived a long time ago, eons of time ago in Earth's history. They also did photosynthesis. They captured the energy from sunlight and stored that energy in chemical bonds, sugars, and those plants got buried, and as they went deeper down beneath the ground, the burying process, they experienced heat and pressure and decomposed into what we call fossil fuels. So the main ones are natural gas, oil, and coal. And with the start of the Industrial Revolution, humans started to extract fossil fuels from the ground and started to use it as an energy source. They burned it to drive the Industrial Revolution and to create the world's economies. Right? So the way that a country transitions from being a developing country to a developed country is by burning fossil fuels and developing their economy. That's how it's been done historically. So fossil plants and the photosynthesis they did has led to an energy supply over the last 250 years that has created the Earth and life on Earth and the way that we know it in large-scale human societies. There's 5 things that make plants especially important to people in human societies, and the first is food. So almost all of our calories come directly or indirectly from plants through the process of photosynthesis. And these crops right here, wheat, rice, corn, potatoes, cassava, and sweet potatoes, are the major crops. About 80% of human caloric intake comes from those species. But we don't just eat food for energy and building blocks, we also eat food for enjoyment. And what makes food enjoyable to eat are flavors that we like, that come from spices, that are secondary chemicals that plants produce that create aromas and flavors. So what makes food taste good? Think onions, garlic, spices, and without those flavors, those aromas and flavors that plants provide, our food would be bland. Second, plants are really important sources of medicine. So about 25% prescription drugs are derived from plant chemistry, and a lot more were originally discovered in plants and then have been synthesized in labs. But really, really important source of medicine comes from secondary chemicals in plants. And then plants are just an everyday part of our lives, all the things that are important to us, right? That create culture and are part of what defines who we are. So they provide fuel, shelter, and clothing. Your home is primarily made out of the fibers of plants, and same with your clothing, cosmetics. If you sit down and look at all the things that you buy and purchase and use in your life, a large majority of them are derived plant products. Plants beautify the earth. So just in contrast, I've taken a photo of the surface of Mars, and while it's beautiful, I think, it is nothing like the beauty we see on Earth. You know, as we travel the Earth's biomes, the tropical forests, the grasslands, the savannas, the deciduous forests, the tundra, travel across Earth, there's just so much beauty across our planet. And much of that beauty is defined by the plants that grow there. Finally, plants drive global cycles that are critical to supporting life on Earth. So if you see this forest here in this diagram, you can see that the forest, through transpiration and photosynthesis and respiration processes we'll talk about later, drive the global carbon, water, and nutrient cycles, nitrogen cycles. And without those cycles operating, life as we know it on Earth can't exist. And so plants and plant function are fundamental to life on Earth. And that is it for module number 2.